Hello and welcome. I'm Cher, the Shadow Walker, and I'm taking a look at the United States in the past 48 hours for cryptid sightings or encounters, whichever you prefer. And I'm starting with Maine. And at 4 a.m., a Bigfoot in rural Grafton Notch State Park, Oxford County. This is in a rural road area. One person, and he was a local worker walking to his job after his vehicle stalled. The creature was initially seen walking towards the witness in a bipedal fashion. As it got closer, it moved to the center of the road, paused, hunched forward and placed its hands on the ground and bounded across the road on all fours with speed and fluidity. And they reported it to the local paranormal research forum, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, BFRO, as a Class A visual sighting. And a crawler at approximately 10:30 p.m. on the outskirts of Lewiston near the canal's industrial zone, and it was a couple. They were driving home, described a tall, very thin figure with arms way too long for a human. It was seen standing near the streetlight, giving its skin an orange tint. It turned its head towards the car with a look of annoyance before scurrying into the high brush on all fours, and they reported it to the National Cryptid Society. And a hellhound at approximately 7:45 in the tree line of a residential property in Palmyra, Somerset County. One person and a domestic animal, a German. The witness was taking their dog out when the dog became alert. They heard deep growls from the dense bush, and the witness saw a large, dark, wolf like shape that appeared headless due to the way it was hunched. It slowly turned and retreated into the woods, and when the witness shone the flashlight, it was. And they reported it to the paranormal community and Reddit and the Dogman tracking file. And there was Bigfoot, and this is just a vocalization. And this happened from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. last night. And this was just north of Bangor. A group of 4 people camping. No visual sighting, but the group was kept awake by menacing vocalizations and wood knocks. They reported feeling of being watched and circled by something heavy enough to snap large branches, and they reported it to the BFRO as a Class B site. So in New Hampshire, in the past 48 hours, at 1:15 a.m. on April the 21st, a private campground near Lincoln within the White Mountain National Forest, one person plus their large dog. The witness reported that his 100-pound pit bull began reacting terrified and hiding under the trailer. The witness then observed a creature standing roughly 7 feet tall near the tree line. It had canine-like head with pointed ears, but stood on 2 legs with a massive muscular shoulders. It didn't approach, but emitted a low-frequency vibration growl that the witness felt in his chest, and he reported it to the Dogman file. I guess there's been other sightings in this area, so there's going to be a follow-up. And a Bigfoot in broad daylight at 3:30 p.m. on April 20th in Grafton County. There's a dense bush area near Moose Lake area, Mount Moose Lake. I hope I said that right. 2 hikers. The hikers spotted a large gray-brown shape leaning against a tree that they initially thought was part of the trunk. As they approached the tree, it peeled away and moved rapidly into the thicket. It was described as incredibly thin and tall, the classic wood devil description, using its long limbs to swing through the brush rather than just walk. And they reported it to the Granite State Sasquatch Research Group and to the local trail ranger. And a spider humanoid or a crawler, whichever you prefer, at 11:45 on April the 21st, and that's p.m., on Route 150 near Exeter. A witness, one person, the witness reported a chalk white figure with unusually large black eyes crawling across the road. It's moved with a jerky mechanical motion similar to a spider, but with a humanoid frame. It cleared the road in 2 seconds and disappeared into the marshy area, and they reported it to the National Cryptid Society. And a Mothman at 8:10 p.m. on April the 20th, and this is Pickering Ponds in Rochester. Witness 3 bird watchers and a photographer. While looking for rare birds, like the grosbelis recently seen in the area, the group saw a massive black shape with a wingspan of at least 10 feet glide silently over the pond. It did not flap its wings. One witness noticed reddish reflection where eyes would be, though no direct glowing was confirmed. And they reported to the Singular 14 Society and shared on the local New Hampshire birding board. So Vermont has seen quite a bit of activity over the last 48 hours in the Green Mountain National Forest and the Lake Champlain corridor. Starting with a Bigfoot, and they classified this as the Bennington Monster, at 6:15 p.m. on April the 20th, near Glassberry Mountain, the Bennington Triangle area, 2 backpackers, the witnesses were setting up camp when they heard a heavy bipedal footsteps in the brush. A large, foul-smelling creature, estimated at over 7 feet tall, stepped into the clearing. It was approximately 40 yards away from them. It stood perfectly still, watching them for nearly a minute before letting out a deep, vibrating huff and walking calmly back into the tree line. And they reported it to the Green Mountain Sasquatch. And a dog man on April the 21st, early morning at 12:45 a.m. And this is at the base of Snake Mountain near Addison. One person, a driver, a motorist, reported a massive dark fur-like canine crossing the road. The witness noticed that the creature's back was level with the hood of the car, and it had a wolf-like head, but with human-like shoulders. It did not run like a dog. It moved with a heavy, rhythmic gallop that shook the witness's steering wheel as it passed in front of the vehicle. And a Mothman at 9:20 p.m. on April 21st over Lake Champlain Bridge, Crown Point area. 4 people, occupants of 2 separate vehicles. Multiple witnesses reported a giant bird-like man with a wingspan of roughly 10 feet gliding beneath the bridge structure's arches. One witness claimed the creature's eyes reflected the bridge lights with a distinct crimson glow. It did not flap its wings, but seemed to ride the wind current off the lake before diving toward the water surface and disappearing. And they reported it to the Single 14 Society and Regional UPA Cryptid Hotline. And a spider humanoid or crawler at 2:10 a.m. on April the 22nd near an old slate quarry in the Ferry Haven area, Rutledge County. And this was a security guard that seen this. A security officer patrolling the perimeter of a quarry spotted a pale, spindly figure clinging to the side of a rock face. The creature moved with disturbing fluidity, resembling a human-sized spider. It reportedly had no visible hair and eyes that shone like white LEDs when caught in the patrol lights. It retreated to the deep crevices in the rock within seconds, and they reported it on their private security log and to the National Cryptid Society. In Pennsylvania, in the last 48 hours, a Bigfoot at dusk at 8:45 on April the 21st. The location, Ghost Town Trail, between Nanty Glo and Ellsburg, Cambria County. 2 cyclists. Witnesses reported a massive dark figure stepping onto the trail about 50 yards ahead. It paused to look at them, its eyes reflecting amber in their bike lights before effortlessly leaping over a steep embankment into the dense brush. They noted a strong, musky odor that lingered in the air for several minutes, and they reported it to the BFRO and the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. And a dog man at 3:15 a.m. early morning on April 22nd near Westmoreland County and its Loyal Hannah Lake area. And this is a night fisherman. The fisherman was packing up when he heard a bone-chilling howl that didn't sound like a coyote. He saw a creature with pointed German Shepherd-like muzzle standing on 2 legs near a boat launch. It moved with a strange digital grade gait, walking on its toes and watching him from behind a tree until he started his truck engine, at which point it vanished into the darkness. He reported it to the Dogman 2026 tracking ledger. And a Mothman at 10:10 on April 20th, and that's in the evening, p.m., hovering over Chestnut Ridge area, Lafayette County. 3 witnesses on their porch. The group observed a winged man with a wingspan of at least 8 feet gliding silently over the ridge. They specifically noted 2 blazing red eyes on its head that remained fixed as it flew. It did not flap its wings, but seemed to glide against the wind before diving into the valley. And they reported it to the Singular 14 Society and Phantom and Monsters. And a spider humanoid on April 21st at 1:30 a.m. in the morning, abandoned coal mine entrance near Centrilla, Columbia County. And this is 2 urban explorers. While filming near the vent, the explorers caught a pale, spindly, hairless humanoid on their infra camera. The creature was perched on a rock, moving its limbs in a spidery, disjointed manner. When it noticed the camera's red light, it let out a high-pitched hiss and retreated backward into the mine shaft with incredible speed. And they reported it to the National Cryptid Society. New York in the past 48 hours in the Whitehall profile. That's what it's called, a Bigfoot. At 10:20 p.m. on April the 21st, near Whitehall, Washington County, 2 local residents on a late night walk. They saw a massive bipedal figure, roughly 8 feet tall, standing in the tall grass near the edge of a golf course. It stood perfectly still, then emitted a low, chest-rattling whistle before turning and walking into the heavy woods with an unnatural, fluid stride. And they reported it to the Whitehall Sasquatch Research. And a dog man in the Adirondacks area. And it's the outskirts of Coppertown. And it was a delivery driver, and he witnessed when he was driving through this heavy wooded stretch of road, the creature with a canine head and a powerful human torso sprinted across the asphalt in 3 bounds. He noted that it was upright and that it had molted gray and black fur. Its eyes caught the high beams with a bright yellow glow, and he reported it to the Dogman file. And a Mothman at 11:30 p.m. on April the 20th in the Staten Island area in Brooklyn. 3 people, passengers in one vehicle. The group traveling across the bridge reported a huge black silhouette with a wingspan the width of the traffic lane. It was seen gliding silently just above the suspension cables. One witness claimed it had no head, only 2 blurry red lights set into its chest or shoulders. It vanished into the fog over the bank of the bay, and they reported it to the Singular 14 Society and the Regional Paranormal Reporting. And a spider humanoid / crawler at 1:15 a.m. on April 21st. An abandoned psychiatric facility ground in Orange County. 2 security guards. During a routine perimeter check, the guards spotted a pale, hairless humanoid with extraordinarily long, spindly limbs perched on a second-story window ledge. When the flashlight hit it, the creature skittered down the vertical brick of the wall, head first, moving like a large insect. It disappeared into an open basement vent before they could get closer. And they reported it in the internal security log and to the National Cryptid Society. I bet you they won't go in the basement. The Michigan area has been incredibly active over the last 48 hours. There's been a sighting of a dog man at 11:45 on April the 20th near Manistee River in Wexford County. This is 2 night hikers. The witnesses reported a massive pointed-eared shadow that was standing near the bridge. It stood on its hind legs, and it was approximately 7 feet tall. It let out a high-pitched scream howl that caused the witnesses to immediately retreat to their vehicles. They noted its eyes were vivid amber when hit with a flashlight. and they reported it to the Dogman 2026 Michigan Ledger. At 5:30 a.m. in the morning on April 21st in Meskwaki County, the dense wooded area near Lake City. And this is the property owner checking on his livestock. The owner heard a thumping sound against the side of his barn. And when he went outside, he saw a large, dark, hairy figure vault over a 6-foot fence in a single motion. It fled into the timbers, but left behind a strong skunk-like odor and deep 5-toed tracks in the soft spring mud. And they reported it to the Michigan Sasquatch Organization and to the BFRO. And a Mothman slash winged humanoid at 9:15 p.m. on April 21st near Lunington State Park, near Michigan Lake. 3 campers. While sitting up by the fire, the campers saw a large black humanoid shape with wings glide silently over the dunes. It didn't flap its wings, but seemed to use the lake breeze to hover. One witness specifically mentioned dull red circles where the head should have been, before it banked sharply towards the lake and was lost in the dark. And they reported it to the Singular 14 Society. And a crawler or spider humanoid at 2:10 a.m. on April the 21st, the wooded ravine behind a residential area in Grand Rapids. One person, the resident who caught it on his security camera slash doorbell ringer. The footage showed a pale, spindly grayish figure crawling on its belly with limbs that moved jointed, snapping angles. It approached a bird feeder, sniffed it, and then turned towards the cameras. The witness described the eyes as reflecting light in the cat, much like a cat's eyes, but it was much larger. It stood up on 2 legs and briefly before bolting back into the ravine. And they reported it to the National Cryptid Society. And that is it for the Northeast region of the United States. Thank you so much for listening. Have an absolutely wonderful day. And remember, if you're hiking, don't hike alone. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.